Jack and Zach are from We Have a Meeting. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
It's amazing.
Great to see you live in London.
Thank
Leslie.
you. Same. And we're going to talk about 3 types of questions that are going to move your deals, or maybe like what not to ask, but also different types of questions to ask, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Good topic.
Great topic.
What's your least favorite question to be asked?
Okay, we're going to circle back to that and then double click on it.
Okay.
Because I want to start with mindset.
Okay.
Was that very salesy?
It
of
was a
you?
great.
It was actually beautiful.
Yeah, that was
the
a
conversation.
reverse question, as they say in the industry.
Yeah. Why do you ask? Curious. Why do you ask?
Great question.
I want to start with mindset because I think that when we talk about questions that we're going to ask during discovery, that a lot of times it starts before we even get on the call. And I know this is something that you are both really phenomenal at setting the tone for. Can you give us just a quick rapid fire version of like where you want me to be mentally before we head into discovery?
I think this is you, sir.
Thank you, Zac Thompson. Mindset is such a buzzword, and one of my phrases that I like to throw about is no one's ever died from a cold call. I was going to say that no one's ever died from asking a question, but I definitely think
100%.
people have definitely died from asking questions. Don't be cheeky with your questions. I think that we need to reframe everything and remember of getting into the right frame of mind. That is what mindset is. Are you ready for the day? Are you focused? Are you present? And what we do is we think of like little mantras. And one of those mantras that goes around our head is that nobody's ever died from a cold call. Nobody's ever died in a sales call. Well, they probably have, but not from the sales call. When you think about like reframing everything in the grand scheme of things, there's been 117 billion people that have come before us, okay, and there'll be quadrillions more if humanity continues to move the way it's moving at the moment. And all we have is this short amount of time that we've got. It's not infinite. So when you're going into these sales calls, these environments that might feel nervy, scary, you're petrified, you put people on a pedestal, actually, in the grand scheme of things, one day you'll be 84, you'll be sat on your deathbed, you'll be looking back at the horizon that was your life and thinking, actually, that moment there probably didn't matter that much. So if you can get yourself into that frame of mind before you get ready to sell, you'll be selling better. Camera 1.
Nice.
I really love Chris's giving a definition of cheeky for everyone, American in the chat.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Even better. I really like that. And I think it is a lot of times we think so much about it. Like we're building this all up in our head. And I like to think, I'm like, does my prospect that I'm calling, are they feeling the same way about this meeting as I am? Are they like as nervous as I am or as, excited about the sales call? Is it like, do they wake up thinking about me too? Like Leslie is calling me today to do discovery.
They are thinking about you. You're a big deal.
Thank you.
You look like you didn't believe me when I said that.
I don't, but that's okay. I want to think about the types of questions now. So there's 3 types of questions as you classify them, right? Walk us through just the basics. What are the 3? And then maybe we can define.
Yeah, so you've got basic, insight, and transformative. So we're big believers in sales should feel like therapy. So a lot of our stuff, if there's anyone in the comments who's had therapy or been a therapist, they might go, hey, I recognize some of that. A basic question is your typical kind of BANT questions, right? This is like budget, authority, need time. They don't really get you anywhere. They're basic, they feel basic. There's not a rapport being built. You're not getting closer to the real crux of what you're trying to do in selling. Insight would be next. So insight is going to be things like what problem are you trying to solve? How long has it been a problem for? And those are like the things that you probably want to know around the semantics and the practicality of what's happening. But a transformative question is a question that will access a much deeper layer of thinking. And we're big believers in selling has 3 steps. Deep thought, if I can get you to think deeply, you will then attach an emotion. When you attach an emotion, you will then act. That should be the framing that you're trying to do when you're asking questions. Deep thought, emotion.
Attach emotion, and then act.
You've got
okay,
it.
Beautiful.
Wow. Good student. I like it. Well done.
Noted. Burned into my memory.
I was
Done.
actually just going to say where you went to school. I'm not going to say it just in case. And then a transformative question. So a transformative question, and probably the simplest way of putting this is someone comes to you and they say, I want to solve this problem. I want to buy this piece of software, whatever it may be. And you're going to pause and say, do you mind if I ask you a really Direct question. Yeah, go on. Why now? And why now is a classic transformative question, because asking someone that gets that deeper level of what stopped you before, why is now the right time? And if you've had therapy, that's often the question you get asked there as well.
It's not a case of having a list of prescribed questions. That's kind of not what we push. Having some great questions that you can ask, but the time's got to be right. You've also got to like follow the lead of the prospect. You've got to really pull on the thread of that curiosity. There's a phrase that we like to throw around of, if you want better answers, you've got to ask better questions. And it's so true in therapy that sometimes it takes asking why 6 times to actually get to the root cause or the reason why. So you've got to think, okay, I'm sat with somebody, and it could be on a cold call, it could be in a discovery call. Well, actually, I'm probably not going to get lots and lots of questions, because I want them to be talking, I want them to be opening up, I want them to be telling me about their world. If you ask a very kind of surface level basic question, it's very easy to answer. Do you have budget for this? Yes or no? What's your budget? £3.50, whatever it is. But if you can listen to people and ask real transformative questions, that's where a lot of the magic happens. If we're looking at this from like a cold calling environment, if we're trying to get people to attend meetings, everybody's looking for the one hack. What's the thing I can do to get them? Is it that I put them into a 36-step cadence after I book the meeting? Is it that I do the pre-call? Is it that I ask them at the end, is there any reason? These are all really good things that you can do. Maybe not the cadence, but there are great things that you can do to make sure that people are going to attend, because if you're selling, you want people to attend. But the best thing you can do is give them a reason to want to attend. Because if you're selling to C-suite and they look at their diary for the whole week on a Sunday night, as we know they do, they're thinking that at 1 o'clock on Thursday, I'm probably still walking the dogs. I actually have no reason to go there. But if it is something that they've got a problem, they're motivated to solve it, and you've demonstrated that you might be able to help them, well, I know I'm going to be there.
That's something I always ask myself when I hang up the phone and I've booked a meeting, is why are they showing up? Why are they going to attend? And I think it's something that if it becomes it's all about me and features and products, like that's a really good indicator that they're not going to attend. And if it's something where I listened and I understood them and I was able to get them to that next level, right? Like probably a better indicator that they are going to attend. Maybe they are looking at their diary and they're excited about that meeting.
Of course they are. It says Leslie.
Diary, calendar, schedule. We need a...
Yeah, different translations.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, I want to move in. So we have the basic insight and transformative questions. I want to move into the idea of, once we get through some of these questions, the most common thing that's going to come up is a deflection or objection, and someone, you're like ready to ask your question and you're excited about jumping into discovery, but a lot of times it's met with that immediate, like, we're too small, or we don't have time for this, or now's not a good time, or like, what's your go-to rebuttal, deflection, your objection handling technique that might be helpful for everyone listening in?
Okay, so we've got something that we call ACEs, which I will explain what it is for people, but it's based on, again, a stolen therapy technique called the Socratic method. And the Socratic method by Socrates in ancient Greece was a way of getting other people to come to a conclusion themselves without leading them. So the Socratic method would basically be, how do I get someone to come to the conclusion themselves? But for ACEs, we lay out a nice framework, don't we, Jack?
We love a framework.
So that people can kind of follow along and know exactly where they are. So the first step, so you give me an objection. Jack, give me an objection.
I don't have any money.
First step's going to be accept. Makes sense. Not everyone I speak to on the first call's going to have money. Then it's going to be clarify. ACEs. Clarify. When you say you don't have any money, what do you mean, sorry?
I don't have any money set aside this year for tech.
Okay. And then we move into exploration. Okay. So if you did have some money put aside, let's take money off the table. Out of the problems that I talked about before, which one jumps out the most?
Problem B was really interesting the way you said it.
Problem B. And then we'd explore that using normal qualification. So I'd explore the problem, Jack's going to give me some examples of it, the impact. I'm going to go deeper down that problem lens. And then R in ACEs is redirection. Okay, so it sounds like it's not necessarily a money issue. It's just that you haven't found something that would solve that problem straight away. Is that unfair?
No, that's fair.
Okay, and then I'm just going to summarize everything back to him. So that would be ACEs, and then we move on from the objection. When we teach people this, what they say is like, oh, there's no like clever, like silver bullet thing that you give back to them. If you can persuade someone in the moment, which you might be able to do, if they've been persuaded against their own will, when the logic kicks back in after the call, what you just said before is going to happen where they're like, actually, I'm not going to show up to that meeting. Mm-hmm. I feel like I was strong-armed. But if you guide someone to come into a conclusion themselves, and it could be a hard no or a hard yes. I'm not saying you'd be able to definitely talk them back into doing something, but people tend to have a much kind of softer feeling towards dealing with you rather than like, oh, this is a salesperson trying to persuade me to do something.
I think about like a pendulum swinging, and if they swing negative with you on the call and they swing back really big positive because of something you're pushing them towards, it's law of gravity, right? It's just going to come right back when you're not on the phone with them. You're not there to handle that objection. So I really like that idea. You have another, I think, really thoughtful methodology when it comes to this and like helping people come to their own conclusions with that IKEA framework. When do you use it? What is it? Tell us a little bit about it.
So the IKEA framework, so if I've got an idea and you've got an idea, we know that you're going to favor your idea rather than mine. So we always find that not just you, not just you, just people in general. And we find that people will favor things when they've been a part of the process. So they've been involved in the process themselves. Okay. So like IKEA furniture, have you ever made any IKEA furniture in the past?
Yes. Love building IKEA furniture.
So
the directions are beautiful.
So gorgeous, so stressful, so amazing. But you look at that wonky table at the end and you think, God, I feel proud of that. I did that. That was a bit of me. So what we do is we use the kind of the IKEA curve where we get people to help us build it. And what we're going to do along the way is we're going to get them to build it so they kind of favor their own solution. But we're also going to pick up things that we might not have gathered from digging deeper, et cetera, et cetera. So it might be a case of, okay, if say I'm a recruiter, for example. So
do you guys want to role play this one?
Please.
That would be wonderful.
Let's role play.
Okay, so if I'm a recruiter, I go, okay, so I guess that you've been around the block a bit. If you were to go out and build your own recruitment agency, I guess what would it have to look like to stand a chance?
Oh, they'd have to not bother me all the time. They'd have to not send me irrelevant CVs. They'd have to probably really understand our market a lot better. We're in a really niche space.
Okay, and then I'm going to pick up on some of those bits that you spoke about. Oh, that's really interesting. When you say not bother you with random CVs, it feels like that's happened in the past. Could you give me an example?
That's just always been the experience we've got with recruiters. It's very much about, can I just place a candidate into the role rather than find you the right person? Because obviously I get it, they want to get the commission. Okay,
so we know that in life, when it comes to the happiness equation, it's expectations. What is expectations meets reality, and we know that they're going to favour something that they've been a part of and helped build. So we're going to use that information to kind of extract it and help them build it themselves, so we know what they're looking for. And there might be red flags that pop up, so stuff that we know that later on down the line we're probably going to have to handle or deal with or get there first, because he wants a recruiter that's based in Manchester but actually I'm based in Bournemouth, or whatever it may be, but we're extracting that information along the process.
Shall I give you an unsolicited bonus tip for people who are listening? They didn't ask for it, but I'm going to give it to them. When I first found this technique and found that it worked really well, I was demoing software and I was very aware, and I was getting kind of bored of I go through the same demo every time. So what I was doing before I got there was saying, just before I open this up, if you were sat in my developer's shoes, what does this need to look like to stand a chance of working in your business? And they'd start listing things that hadn't come up so far. So it'd be like, oh, I'd really need to integrate with this thing. Like, oh, that's never come up before.
Right.
Oh, I'd need it to do this. And everything that came up, rather than me treating it like a feature, I would treat it as a symptom. That's interesting. That hasn't come up. What would that solve for you? And then they're building this platform for them. So when I give the demo, we've obviously understood the full picture, but I just show them the bits they were interested in.
You just wrote the IKEA instructions on how to build their demo.
Exactly.
And they built it themselves.
Exactly that. So that is where I saw it work really well, first and foremost. And my results in terms of closing just went through the roof, because everyone I spoke to, it was almost like they'd built the platform rather than me kind of telling them and showing them like, here's how it would work in your business. Trust me, here's how it would work. They'd kind of built it before we even got there.
I think that's so interesting and such a good point in the ownership piece. And like, they've just built this. How do you reframe that in the conversation so that you're reminding them that it was their words?
How do we keep doing it?
So do you like, you just built yourself a list.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking them more clarifying questions on the list that they just built out for you. And then are you like referring back, like you just mentioned?
I got you. Okay.
Are you
so
putting those little cues in there for them?
yeah. So what I do is, we're big fans of negative framing questions. So let's say they say, I need to have this particular feature. We take the demo example. I'll say, right, I'll show you. You mentioned this before. I'm going to show you how I think we'd solve it. If it's completely ridiculous, you've got to tell me. And they're like, yeah, of course. And I show them. I try and show them as simple as possible, 1 or 2 clicks. And I'm like, so that's how we do it. But, it's probably going to sound ridiculous to you. No. That's exactly what we wanted it to do. And they qualify themselves through the different bits that they needed as they went. But it's always with that, I'm guessing I've not understood it properly. I'm guessing it's pretty ridiculous. I'm guessing this isn't what you had in mind. So they then double down and go the other way.
How many times do you think you can do that before it feels awkward? Or is that in our heads? Is that a mindset thing where we're like, I feel uncomfortable saying this 12 times in a row?
Oh, that's a different thing.
Like
so
the negative framing.
That is, there's a guitar in the corner of the room, right? If I got that guitar in the corner of the room and I started playing Sweet Child of Mine to you, you'd go, okay, I quite like it. But if you were sat here for an hour and I was playing Sweet Child of Mine,
on repeat,
you'd go, shut that up. And that's the thing that salespeople do, right? They go, okay, great. Would it sound ridiculous? Would it sound ridiculous? They don't mix it up. You've got to mix up the notes that you play. Otherwise, it sounds like the same old boring song.
That's a great analogy.
Thank you.
I think that
Was it a great analogy?
it was a really, really good analogy. I was saving it till after the show, but you can have it now.
Thanks, mate.
Really good analogy. We'll put that analogy in the comments, and you can follow that on Instagram.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just about to say that a lot of people that are watching might work in SaaS, and I think that this is, when you're working with SaaS platforms, it can do 1,000,001 things when we know that, and there can be a real fatigue where you run in and you kind of showcase everything. Well, actually, does it solve the problem? What is the core problem? And people want to know that it can do things at ease. And the added bonus is you also get all these other amazing things, but we can go through that in your onboarding. What we need to do is, you've got a niche. Can I show you that you can scratch it in a very simple manner and you feel like you built it yourself?
Yeah. My first sales director that I ever worked with, we used to do a lot of demos. And as soon as someone got excited in the demo, he'd close his laptop. He wouldn't do the full demo. So as soon as they showed they were visibly excited and a discussion broke out about something, he'd just close his laptop and just like that was the end of the demo.
It wasn't during remote demos. Was it? Bang.
But he kind of recognised like, this is the top of the roller coaster. Anything more that I show now, we're going to start going back down.
Right.
So as soon as he had like a really good kind of second nature for, we're excited now, and the laptop would close and it'd move into a different, like, how would we implement? And you don't need to show them everything.
That's really an interesting thought too. Do you think that depends on industry or title or topic, or do you think that that's pretty universal across people?
I think it's universal across people. You've got to probably know the personality type that you're dealing with. Like, I'm not saying if someone is
engineer.
Yeah, like an engineer or a CFO, and they're like, no, I really need the numbers and the analytics. Mm-hmm. The example we give is me and Jack. There's a third member of the band, Ben, who's our operations director, the third Jonas brother.
He's invisible.
We all come at things from like quite a rounded perspective. Mm-hmm. So whereas Jack might be like very blue sky thinker in terms of, if you were selling to Jack, Ben is much more in the operations of, would this rationally work? So I'm not saying you should change. You should kind of force your approach. It kind of has to be chameleon. You have to be malleable to different things.
Yeah.
If the numbers and the analytics are important to someone, you want to understand why. And if they're important to them because when I get them wrong, I'm worried that I annoy the shareholders and have to work like that's still a layer that we have to understand. It's just, why is that bit important to them? Still needs to be ticked off.
Yeah. And I think there's a common thread that keeps coming up, is that you're not just taking the surface level answer. No. We're always digging in. We're always treating it. You called it treating it like a symptom, mm-hmm. and really digging in to understand. We're not prescribing right off the bat. We're asking clarifying questions. Where does that fall in your basic insight, transformative? Where do like those clarifying?
So there's in the book that's soon to be released, Sales Therapy, there's a chapter in it called Extreme Clarity, which is a thing that when you're a new salesperson in our business, we've all seen it. The I think they liked us at the end of a call kind of thing.
Yes.
So extreme clarity would be, one, addressing that in yourself, making sure you're being clear with your own kind of critical thinking. But two, when you're dealing with prospects about problems that are particularly painful, they tend to hide them in kind of jargon. So you might be doing a SaaS platform and they're like, well, we're a FTSE 500 company and we want to make sure we're integrating with the latest tech solutions, especially all the changes with AI. And you're like, okay, why is that important to you? Rather than just taking that at surface level.
And I think a lot of times we jump to the conclusion of, I've heard AI integration or integration with tech, AI, all of these things. And you're like, I've seen this show before.
Yeah.
Let me just jump into my talk track. And instead, it's understanding what they're actually saying behind some of those jargon words.
Yeah, you've just talked there about is it Dunning-Kruger? Where it's when
Yeah.
you start off, because you're so new, when you start off, you ask all the right questions because you're scared of getting something wrong.
Right.
And then when you get good at your job and you kind of know the market and know the area, actually you get worse for a little bit because you do exactly what you just said. You've kind of, I've done this dance before. I know exactly what you mean. But if we took it back to therapy, if you sat down with me and you were talking about fear of rejection or something, in the afternoon, if you met Jack and we're talking about fear of rejection, they're two different conversations. You wouldn't assume because you'd spoke to me, Jack's issues are the same as mine.
Right.
But they are.
Like, all my
both
clients
broken.
are exactly the same.
Yeah.
We're not a special snowflake.
No, there is a bit of a contradiction, isn't there, with the way that we talk about selling, because it's like a case of, on one hand, we will say things as there's no new objections. All objections are, we've had the same kind of 8 or 10 objections, whatever, throughout history, and they'll probably continue. But then on the same way, everybody's own unique situation is their own unique situation, and you have to have that clarity to them. And it's also part of the dance of selling, of understanding them, understanding their world. And although your mind tends to rush to filling the gaps and paint the picture, but actually you can't go in and just blanket say that everybody's exactly the same, because that's not how real life works.
And how we experience our job, our role, our organization, like, brings a lot of those differences to the table. What do you think when you're going into a discovery call? What's your number one goal and objective when you're asking questions? Because a lot of times we get in our head and we're thinking about, what am I going to say next? Mm-hmm. How am I going to tell you that my product is the perfect fit for you? And when you talked about mentally preparing, like, how do we set ourselves up in terms of like setting an objective for ourselves for discovery?
I mean, the way I think of it is you're looking to get to a certain outcome, a certain yes or a certain no, and both are fine. And I think if you're allowing your salespeople that a no is also okay, it tends to be kind of cascading down and make things a bit easier. So if you were on a discovery call, if you were listening to a discovery call of one of ours, half of it is us actually, it almost seems like we're trying to get you to say no, like you to not work with us. There's more reasons for you not to say no. And I think that is quite a liberating thing to go into a call with. Like, if I get to a yes, that's great. But if I also get to a no, that's great. The issue, the bit that you don't want, is a think it over, maybe, might do, that isn't kind of concrete. I get it that some people are going to have to go away and think about it. But I think it over, a might do, or a maybe that's just kind of left in the ether, that's a bad outcome. So I would be thinking, like, how do I not get there? And how do I get to either a yes or a no? And you'll find having both options on the table is quite a liberating thing for salespeople. I'm talking quieter because I saw someone say that I'm talking too loud in the comments.
You are I didn't see that.
You get passionate, and that's a good thing.
Sorry.
But I do, you have to lean in more to hear the whispers. I do want to hear, I think that there may be a hot take there where it's like, we do want the yes or the no, but I think a lot of times hearing the no, it's just like, they're like, I'm not interested. And you're like, okay, bye, hang up the phone. And we don't want that either, because that could be, if they haven't heard anything you have to say, or there's no value that's been brought to the table yet. I know that's like a traditional, maybe buzzwordy way to put it. How do I know it's a real no?
Is this on discovery?
Discovery, yeah. How do I know it's a real no?
I think it, I mean, if somebody's turned up and you kind of at the beginning, you've this is what we do. We kind of give all the reasons not to work with us. I think we go into things with like maybe a mindset of abundance, okay, which might sound a bit airy-fairy, but it's one way to think about things. But I think that a lot of people go in attached to the outcome because maybe they're not sure where their next discovery call is coming from, and I think that rots in your mind, and that kind of is where a lot of it stems. But it's not in your control. Do you know what I mean? It's all you've got now is this moment, this discovery call. When the milk's turned into cream, you can't squirt it back in the udder, as they say.
What?
It's a control thing. Don't worry about it. But that is the thing. So that's where a lot of the kind of the desperation comes from.
Right.
So can you actually say, okay, I'm not attached to this. I just need to be a vessel. We call it the lazy river. Let's just have a conversation, a very frank conversation. I'll do my best to maybe ask good questions, maybe challenge you, maybe bring a bit of lighthearted entertainment, maybe just make you feel like it's an open space. I'll do all of those things. And then by the end, that's what selling is. You're supposed to trust me. I'm the seller. I'm the solution. I'm the consultant. And I'll give you my recommendation. We get to the end of a lot of calls and we say, being honest, I don't think you should do this. And that would come from not a place of tactic. That comes from a place of being genuine and being completely honest. And sometimes it will end with no, I definitely want to do it. But it's being ethical in all ways.
I've got a onboarding call with a new client on Thursday that I said no to 2 years ago, and he came back a few weeks ago. And he said no because I said no to him because I was like, there's all these free things that you could do. You've never gone for a referral. You've now exhausted your LinkedIn network. There's stuff in your pipe. Like there was quite a lot that he'd not done. And then he came back to me and said, I did all those things and now I'm ready to do this. But he's doing it now for the right reason. He's not doing it like going, oh, what about these referrals that I could have done? He's exhausted that already. And he's got more money in the bank, and it's a much more comfortable decision for him now because he's done all those things. And we have those all the time now, don't we? Where people come back and, oh, you said no to me before, and I did this, and now I'm kind of ready to go. So a no isn't a no forever. It's just a no for now. And I think like using it in the right way, in the right ethical way, tends to be a better thing in the practice anyway. Sales has a bad name. Like, why try and force everyone to say yes?
Selling doesn't stop when the contract's signed and the money's in the bank, and so many sellers will think it does, and it might not be your job role anymore. But I would also say that it's part of your responsibility. Like everything that kind of stems on from there, and I think we look at this from the mind of a business owner, but the selling never stops, because whether it's account management, it's selling. Whether it's client success, it's selling. The selling continues to start as you mean to go on.
I really like that you guys have both kind of cued at in this that you are giving them a reason, though. It's not just like we're not a good fit. Bye. Mm-hmm. Right? You're giving them a reason, and that's creating, I know you don't love the relationship sale, but you are creating a relationship there, or you're building trust.
What?
I know. You're building trust with them.
My heart.
I know. I will never call you a relationship seller again. Let's move on. Anyway, I do want to talk about your idea from the book. And by the way, they have a fabulous book coming out. I got a pre-read. I'm not supposed to tell you that, but I did. And it's wonderful.
Thank you.
So sorry.
Very kind.
So sorry to tell everyone. It's good. I want to talk about going for the close on the discovery. And you have specifically the test close.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Should we demo?
Please.
Okay. So
My favorite.
Where would you like me to be?
I'm going to say to you, right, we'll start from here. So how long's this been going on for?
It's probably been about 6 months now.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's going to sound like a bit of a direct question. Do you mind if I ask?
Please ask.
Have you maybe given up on fixing this?
No. Still open to solutions.
Okay. And this is the test close part here. If we did sit down, what would the first meeting need to look like to be a good use of your time?
Well, I'd have to understand what you do, how you'd help solve that problem. I know that the team are going to ask about legal, having an understanding of pricing, all of the things, like ticking all the boxes, etc.
Okay. And if we could tick all those boxes, when would be the best time to sit down?
Let me check my diary. That's not a diary, guys. That's a watch. Tuesday at 4 p.m.
So that's how we normally recommend the close goes. But you notice there, I know it's a role play, but you notice there's no real pressure anywhere.
Right.
And the agenda and the why would you sit a meeting with me comes from Jack, rather than me saying, hey, I've got some ideas for you. Why don't we sit down? We'll show you the new solution. I'm saying to Jack, what would be a good use of your time if we did sit down? And then
Just possibility,
right? And
that's kind of a combining of close and IKEA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've got a question for you that you said we could come back to.
Oh.
What's the worst question you can be asked on a sales call?
I think my least favorite is when a salesperson shows up and is like, so what does your company do? And I'm like, okay, you don't even have to spend much time researching, right? You can literally pull up a website, ask a robot.
Yeah.
You can click on any employee at my company's LinkedIn, right? But like when someone is like, so tell me a little bit more about your business. And I'm like, no, you called me.
Oh.
I really don't like that. Maybe a pet peeve. Are you okay with that? When people are like, so what do you actually
Well, I get a lot of people saying, hey, I can book meetings for you. And I'm like, well, what do I do?
Yeah, that is
We're
my
literally
job.
called.
Right.
We have a meeting.
Right.
It's I've got one that I've been getting the team to use, and I don't know whether you like this, but a lot of the time when cold calling, people will say, have you done your research? Do you know what we do? So it's like a bit of an ego flare. And there's a few ways that you can take that, but the last thing you want to do is run in and say, well, I know you do X, Y, and Z, because you're going to get probably a lot of it wrong. And then you're talking, so you want to kind of flip it back to them straight away. So what I've been doing with the team is they say, I'll be honest, if we were to sit down and do a pub quiz and it was me versus you and your company, I think you'd probably win, and then lead into another question. So when it comes to X problem, getting back there. Because if somebody says, have you done your research, and you go, yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Kinda.
Yeah, kind of like, or no, there's not a good outcome.
Right.
No. I've always liked that. I know as much as your website told me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And then just moving into your next question. Because it's a trap, isn't it? If you've done your research, no matter what you say, they're already in that fight or flight mode. Whatever you say is going to be like, yeah, you haven't really understood it then.
You'd be like, I know a creepy amount
Yeah.
of you and your organization. Okay, so in that thread, what do you think your favorite discovery question, or the one that's most telling? Like, what's going to get you the juiciest, best information that you like on a discovery call?
Yeah, one that's worked really well, and maybe this is recency bias because it's been working so well, is if someone's kind of not giving enough of the kind of emotion, the why, the motivation behind it, I say, can I be really honest? I've been speaking to a lot of people recently who really need to do something like this. You sound like you're in a good spot. You don't sound like you need to do this at all. Is that unfair? And then they're like, well, no, we do, because, and then they start kind of selling it back to me. That's been working unbelievably well.
Is that kind of because of the idea of people want to, or like don't want to pave the path, they want to stick together with community, and if everybody else needs it, then I need it too?
Yeah, there's a bit of that, and there's a bit of reactance as well, which is like I'm trying to persuade you of something, you recognize it, so you go the total opposite direction, which probably sounds a bit like manipulation when I say it out loud.
No.
But there's genuinely times when I do that and people go, you're probably right. I probably don't need to do this right now.
Right.
But other people are like, okay, fine, cards on the table. This is the situation that we're in at the minute. And then they kind of give it a bit more.
I think it's time we gave buyers a lot more respect than they get, being completely honest. Because I think like it's...
Why did it sound so...
I thought you were going to laugh, but no one
disingenuous
laughed. No, but I think it's a case of once you take something away from somebody, it's only then that they realise, oh, actually, I wanted that. But when I say give buyers a lot more respect, I say it in jest, but actually, buyers are switched on now. They're coming to calls and they know that they're probably not going to give up all the information very, very easily, because there's a feeling that you're a seller, you're going to take this information and use it against me and use your Jedi mind tricks to make me buy something that I don't want. Okay? So it's a case of you've got to make people feel comfortable. And actually, when you take it away from somebody and say, this isn't actually for you, so much reactance kicks in. All these different things start to happen. And that's when you can start to have a good conversation. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to buy there and then, but that's where the magic might happen to start opening up and having a good conversation.
It is so interesting. I think we try to separate it. Like you said, it sounds like manipulation, but like psychology and sales go so hand in hand. And it is human behavior and pattern. And, you know, like you said, we're following trends and paths and just diving in and understanding humans better. And I feel like that puts us at a better position to sell, or in a better position to sell.
Definitely. So what's your favorite?
Tell me more about that.
Oh.
With anything, I think any question you ask, if you're just tell me more about that.
Pad that out. Tell me more.
It buys me time to think. I mean, honestly, number one, buys me time to think. And then it's getting more information that people feel inclined that they have to respond. Right? I can ask a really pointed question and people don't necessarily feel like they have to respond to that. But if I say, oh, tell me more about that, there's something magical where people are like, okay, you know, here's everything.
You know what? That doesn't work with people who have the habit of saying like, okay, makes sense. I understand. Makes sense at the end of everything they hear.
Right.
You have to have that ability to go, tell me more. Like, hold on a second. I'm not just going to agree with you on that.
Curiosity factor.
Like Jack will always go, okay, I think I'm just pad that out for me a little bit, explain that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then people tend to go down the rabbit hole a bit more, don't they? And often, like Jack was saying a point before, you know, in therapy, you might have to ask someone something 6 times before you get the actual answer and the actual cause of the thing. So I'm not just accepting surface level answers, I think curiosity is a habit, isn't it?
Yeah. And picking up on like certain words. If you think about like a therapist and you're saying like, I just want my day to be perfect, they'd say, rather than going, well, tell me more about that, they might say, perfect's an interesting choice of words. Yeah, perfect. And then you start to open up and it's unpicking and like really, really delving deep into the choice of words. Why are they saying that? Like, and you can start to get into the weeds and you know when it's happening because buyers will start to light up a little bit more. They start to relax and they start selling is human to human, isn't it? Whether you're B2B, B2C, you're selling to a human being. So although you might be talking about the impact on the business or the business case or whatever, you're talking about a human. So why is that a problem? Is it because the people in the sales team are mocking you because the software is so old? Is it because you have to sit there and personally write up all the notes, which means you missed the 5:15 train? What is it? And it's your job to extract that information and say, yeah, that does sound hard.
Tell us when Sales is Therapy is coming out.
It's a great question, and I'm so
question
so
of
glad
the
that
day.
The pre-release was due to go live on the 10th of December 2024. We've gone back. We probably since November we've doubled the book. So we keep having these kind of ideas and brainwaves of how can we pad that out? How do we make it more actionable? How do we work on a framework? There's certain frameworks that have only been chucked in the last month. When we say it's coming out, it is coming out very, very soon.
As a reader, I appreciate you making it actionable because there's one thing to read about theory and there's one thing about applying frameworks. And I think that was something that I did take away of what I read is there's so many things that I can start doing today, tomorrow, whatever that looks like.
What you don't want is another couple of schmucks just releasing a book just for the sake of it. Like we want you to hold something and go, that looks good on a coffee table.
Yeah, that's the aim.
That's the aim.
That's the outcome.
That's the outcome.
So if you're looking for a coffee table book, coming soon to a coffee table near you.
Soon.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And thank you guys for making time.
Thank you for coming to London to see us.
Anytime.
Amazing.
Anytime. It was a delight. And sellbetter.xyz to see upcoming shows.